Hello, I'm Craig Walters from Aviation Business News, and I'm the editor of MRO Management. You may have recently seen in the news that Aerospace Xelerated has launched a global mentorship program for university students and professional women, which is designed to help mentees advance their careers in STEM fields with a focus on aerospace and aviation. And I'm really pleased to be joined on this video by Nichola Bates, the managing partner at Aerospace Xelerated and also the head of global accelerators and innovation programs at Boeing, to talk more about this. So Nichola, thank you very much for joining me.
Hi, Craig. Thank you very much for having us today.
Excellent. So Nichola, this sounds like a really great scheme and a really important project. So can you tell me what inspired Aerospace Xelerated to launch the Women in STEM Mentorship Programme?
Well, for us at Aerospace Xelerated, it's always just been a hot topic. We are an all-female team here at Boeing in the innovation programs team. And whenever we launched Aerospace Xelerated and we're looking for applications into the program, it was really noticeable that we were getting a lot of applications from men and we weren't seeing a lot of applications for women. So for us, that just kind of that red flag goes up immediately. What can we do better? How do we find these women? We hear a lot of talk about there not being enough women in aviation and aerospace. So for us, it was we just didn't believe that was the case. That can't possibly be true. How do we reach out? How do we do better? And how do we find these women and support them? And one of the things that we did as the Startup Accelerator program, actually a bit by accident, but turned out to be pretty transformational for us for the program, was we took the program fully virtual. And that was as a result of the pandemic. We had a lot of uncertainty. We kind of didn't know how things were going to play out. But when we did that, we saw a significant increase in female applicants coming into the program. So for that reason alone, we will never go back to fully in person. And some other things that we saw as well coming through, for example, whenever we saw applications from women, those applications tended to talk down the success of the startup, whereas the applications from men did the opposite. So exactly the same as we see in all the research about women applying for jobs. So for us, we started to think about, okay, how do we get further, how do we get further higher in the funnel? How do we begin to attract more women into this area? Because there are so many opportunities in aviation and aerospace, and we are a traditionally male dominated sector. So for us, we thought the thing that we find is that actually as a group of women in this sector, we tend to gravitate towards one another. You begin to ask those questions: why, how did we end up here? And a lot of that is driven by other women, and it's also what we've seen with our startups as they're trying to grow diverse teams. Just as anecdotally, recently one of our startups was really keen to attract a female engineer into their group, and when the male engineers posted that job, they got very little traction. However, when a female from their team, not only did she post the job, but she asked other women, to reach out to people in their networks, to share it in their networks, and they got a huge amount of response from that. So I think there is something about us coming together as women to support one another into the sector. And, we see, all of the research, this being talked about everywhere. We see that, according to the UN, over the past decade, women's exclusion from the digital sphere has shaved off $1 trillion of the GDP of low and middle income countries. It's just, the business case just makes sense for this. And for us, we're just really passionate about how do we grow that, and not just for women, but also we see geographically how dispersed we are, trying to make sure that we're attracting women from right across the world, which is why the AX Women in STEM Mentorship Programme is a global programme. It's open to everyone, and for us, we really want to widen that net as far as we possibly can. And provide access to women, particularly young women who are considering a career in STEM, or those that have started their career in STEM, and we know there's a significant drop-off. How do we help those women navigate some of the issues that, you know, those of us that are a little bit older in our careers have already navigated. Those of us that, you know, have had families and being able to keep going through that, and understand some of the challenges that women do face in these areas. And I think as well, by having that global aspect, we get a very, very different view of the world in terms of how women are operating in the workplace generally, but also in STEM. And I think that the cultural aspects of that can be very different across the world, and helping us all better educate ourselves and understand those challenges better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's really important, and we'll talk about the mentorship program a little bit more in a moment. But just going back to the challenges, you know, why do you think a gender gap remains in the STEM community? You know, there has been a lot of efforts made to inspire and engage women and girls in scientific pursuits, but why are there still challenges? What do you think?
Well, you know, I think it's, you know, it's hard to just to single out the, you know, the scientific community, but we do see it more starkly there. I think we've got to all hold our hands up and say the stereotype and, you know, stereotypes and biases are still a huge issue. So I think that actually being more mindful and proactive about addressing those, you know, I think is really important. But also, I think you can't underestimate just the lack of representation and what that means. Whenever, you know, women don't see another woman there, do they really want to make the effort to be the first? Do they really want to fight that fight by themselves? And I think that that's, you know, that is, in my mind anyway, probably the biggest challenge, you know, which is why actually standing up and saying we're here. And also, I think that, you know, particularly when we think about aerospace and aviation, it's not just those that are really great at science. We all have a role. I mean, you know, I'm a lawyer by education, but find myself in this space, find myself, you know, more and more drawn into that that STEM, you know, arena. And my education hasn't stopped me. It hasn't hindered me, you know. So I think that we can come from lots of different places with lots of different strengths and still have a significant role to play in the STEM community. Because it takes all of us, it takes all, you know, all types of skills, and not just the very, very deep scientific ones. And I think that it's actually standing up and saying that, and for other women to see the types of women that are actually here, and not only that, but that we are willing to help, and that there's a very open community here of women that want to support other women and want to grow. So if you are that woman that is looking at an opportunity and not seeing a woman there, don't assume that there are no women there. There are always lots of us in that wider community that are willing, you know, to come in behind you and support you. And we all know what it's like to be the only woman in the room. So we've all been there before, and are more than willing to support you through that. So it is worth the risk. It is worth taking that chance, and pushing forward the agenda of having more representation of women.
Yeah, absolutely great. I think that's really important. That support network is really great to hear. So excellent. Okay, so back to the mentorship program. Can you explain more about the eligibility criteria for the program? How does that work?
It's really simple. It's really simple. And for us, we didn't want to put any strict rules or parameters around it. The mentorship program is really for women who either have an aspiration, maybe they're just curious, maybe they don't have a strong aspiration yet, but maybe they think, maybe this could be for me. Maybe I could do something in this area. So, you know, whether you're a student and whether you're a woman already in a STEM career that needs some support and looking to grow their career, we're really open to women everywhere. And as I said before, very global aspects to this. You know, aerospace and aviation doesn't happen in one country. We are a global business just by our very nature. So it's really important that we reach out. And the mentors that we've had in the past from this program literally come from all corners of the world in all different aspects of the business. And it's not just a Boeing driven initiative. You know, for us at Aerospace Xelerated, it's very important for us that we support the community, and that's all of the community and all aspects of it. So we have a range of partners and people and women just from all across. So, you know, this isn't just a shout out to those that want some mentorship, but also those women that are already there. We're still open for more mentors. We can always take more women coming into our community to help grow and help others really succeed. So it's really a call out to all women who have an interest in this area, or maybe even just an inkling of an interest in the area.
Great. And so I believe the deadline to apply is in December. So what advice do you have for applicants in their preparation for applying?
I think it's just really reflect on what it is that you want to get out of it. I think for us, you know, in order to help us match you with the right type of mentor, the more that we can kind of get to know you, and I don't just mean your career aspirations, but how you live your life, what you're, you know, who you are as a person. Because I think a lot of the mentorship, when it really works, it's because two personalities just gel. So if we can get a flavor of who you are, you know, what gets you out of bed in the morning, what you're really passionate about, that would help us do a better job of matching you with someone who's really going to help support you and help you grow.
Great. And okay, so someone is successfully placed on the program. So tell me a bit more about how that matchmaking kind of works, how the mentees will be matched with mentors, and what that relationship will be like, and the support that it will give.
Yeah. So here at the program, we're facilitating that. So we're looking at all of the mentees and mentors, and a lot of our mentors we know pretty well. So it's easy for us to kind of understand their personality types and the sorts of people that they work well with. For the mentees, that's a little bit harder, obviously, at this stage. But really what we're trying to do, and the theory behind it, is a lot of it is around confidence. And a lot of it is around finding someone that they can just have that really open and transparent conversation with, who has a place in industry, who's already taken some of the steps that you maybe talk about as a mentee that you would like to take. And providing that you know, that opportunity just to regularly have those conversations and talk through. And a lot of the women, you know, the women come from, some of them are pilots, some of them are senior executives in the industry. So again, a lot of very different perspectives to come through. And for us, you know, that's really our job, is putting those people together and helping support them. I think it's fair to say that, you know, that our kind of hidden agenda in all of this is, how do we create more women coming into the sector? How do we begin to see more applications, for example, for women coming into our accelerator program? And I think for us, you know, just growing that overall community. So yes, you become part of this mentorship program, but you also become a part of the wider Aerospace Xelerated network, where we run a lot of events, you know, networking events across the world, where you see a lot of the news about what our companies in our portfolio are getting up to, where they're going to be, but also career opportunities. We've started to proactively support our portfolio in recruiting. And for all of our portfolio, they are tired listening to us telling them that they need to be more diverse. And we need to help them become more diverse, and diversity just makes them more profitable. So there's a lot of opportunity there, just to widen your understanding of the opportunities that are available in the community, and also just to build that network, because I think that, you know, whilst aerospace and aviation feels like a large sector, it's a pretty small sector. And actually, you just growing that network, I think, is probably the most important thing that you can do as someone who's thinking about a career in aerospace and aviation.
Great. It really does sound a really great opportunity. And just thinking ahead, you know, what would you say, Nichola, are the expected outcomes of the programme?
I think it's, you know, obviously that network is crucial, you know, and your mentor will you know, signpost you, introduce you to other people that they think would be worth you talking to. So really growing that. But also just that sounding board and guidance about, because I think that still there's a lot of, you know, how do I do this? How do I get into aerospace and aviation? And sometimes that can feel pretty overwhelming. And actually it's not that hard. You just need someone to help guide you in the right way. And then that knowledge about what's happening in the industry, other programs, other initiatives that are going on. Like, for example, at Boeing, you know, we have our internship program. We also have an apprenticeship program, which this year we had 50% representation of women in the group, which was awesome. So I think it's growing that knowledge about the opportunities that are available for you. But I think at the end of it, the most important thing that you walk away with is a little bit more confidence about your future career, and whether that's in STEM, whether you decide to come into aerospace and aviation, but just knowing that there are other women out there that are really cheering you on.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Nichola, for sharing more info about the programme. It's certainly a really great opportunity and such a positive programme for the aviation industry too. So I wish you all the best for it.
Thanks, Craig, and thank you all for listening today. And if you do want to sign up, accelerated.aero is where you can find us. We'd love to have you as part of our programme.
Fantastic, thank you. And just a message for the audience, Aviation Business News recently launched our Best Places to Work in Aviation, which is where industry firms and companies can register to participate in a survey that will capture opinions about aviation workplace experiences and help us to determine which are the best places to work in the industry. We're excited about that and hope you'll register, and you can find out more information about best places to work in aviation if you follow the link at the end of this video. Nichola, thanks once again.
Thank you.